Welcome to Speedy Walkthroughs, where we show just the important stuff for beating the game. For first time viewers, this will look different to a normal walkthrough. It shows just the essentials, so you don't need to spend a long time watching this video. I'm very excited about this one today because we're playing a ROM hack of Banjo-Kazooie called Nostalgia 64. I'll leave links to where you can download it in the description. Before we get stuck into it, if you like this video, consider subscribing to keep up to date. It helps out the channel a whole bunch, and there should be a new walkthrough out each week. So let's make a start into the game. You'll come across this conversation, you'll see a fly pad there, you just press A to fly up onto it and get into the main game. So if you're familiar with Banjo-Kazooie, it's got all the same controls and everything as that game, but I'll try and cover them briefly as we go. One thing to note is that you do need all the Mumbo tokens to get 100% in this game. Unlike normal Banjo-Kazooie, where you only need about half of them. So please make sure you grab every Mumbo token you see, because otherwise you're going to have to go back and get a whole bunch. Along with Mumbo tokens, we've got notes and jiggies and empty honeycombs to get 100% as well. But we'll get into this main game, and first thing you're going to do is, well, you can talk to this guy, but you're heading left to Yoshi's story. So off to the left here, we just jump into that cartridge there. If you can't reach a cartridge, just high jump into it. And we're into the first level. This is essentially just Spiral Mountain. You got to get 6 honeycombs. There's also a couple of tokens to grab too. So we can go left onto this grass here. We got a honeycomb to grab there just by walking straight to the left, and then you can walk left over this grass here. Press and hold A to go up on the shock spring pad, and then same thing up there to get to the clouds. You'll see me in Talon Trot there. That is Z with C left to do that move. Okay, heading to the right and then back left over the grass, we got another honeycomb. And you're aiming for 6 honeycombs all up in this bit. So to the left there's another token. Just head up through this little section here. Shock spring pad, so bring that up to the left onto these clouds. And that's your 4th honeycomb there. Off to the right again. We're just going to keep heading to the right. And then forward across this grass. That's 1 more honeycomb. Then when you get back up here, just left across that bit of dirt. And down into that section. So that's all 6 honeycombs, and that should give you another health. Eventually we'll get 8 health in total by getting more and more empty honeycombs. Once you've done that, head to the right. And we're into Super Mario 64. You can play the levels in any order, but I'm going to be playing Bob-omb Battlefield first. So first thing we can do is just jump into this field, 5 notes to grab here, and then up behind the fortress there's another pile of notes to grab in this bit. So each level has 100 notes, it's got 9 jiggies, not 10 like the original game, and it's got 8 Mumbo tokens. So make sure when you do a level you have 8 more Mumbo tokens than you did when you came in, otherwise you're going to be going back and getting a whole bunch. Climb up the mountain. Got a couple more notes to grab along the way. And we're just making our way up to the top. So all the way up here, you can just jump at that pole and climb up, and we'll jump into this room. So a few things to get around the room. There's notes all the way up here. Make sure you're in Talon Trot, so that's Z with C left, otherwise you're going to slip down slopes. We can go behind this Game Boy here to get a Jinjo. That one's pretty well hidden. And we can sort of just jump up onto the N here, and then up to grab these notes. Okay, some more notes across here, and then we're going to be making the climb up to the center of the room. So onto this shock spring pad here, and then up across the notes. Now this jiggy is a little bit tough to get. Just line up your camera really well and jump through to grab the jiggy. Alright, now I actually missed some Mumbo tokens in this footage, so I'll show you quickly. So while you're still in this room, there's one behind the Rareware thing, just there, and there's also one inside the DK logo. So to get up to that, you just high jump up here onto the N and into the DK logo. And yes, I did miss these tokens in the footage and had to go all the way back to get them at the end of the game. Don't be like me and miss them. Once you're ready to head out of the pipe, just up onto the Rareware thing and you can go back out. There's a jiggy inside the Bob-omb's crown. Be sure to grab that jiggy. And then we'll jump across to the houses here. So just on those platforms up there, we can shock spring up by holding A on the pad. And then into this pipe. Couple things to grab in this top section. So down here is a Jinjo. And then you can just walk back up through the pipe to walk back. And then if we jump through this pipe, we get a jiggy as well. Same thing after we get this jiggy, you just want to high jump back up that pipe. So that's Z and then A. You can make a jump across to the fortress here. If you can't get to the top with that jump, you can go inside the fortress and climb up through the fortress. It's just a little bit easier to jump down to it. That's why I did it in the footage there. Another jiggy up here, so we'll just grab that. And then we'll jump back down to the fortress. You want to go in the left window there, or left from our perspective. And there's just a honeycomb to grab there and a note. High jump up out of that window, that's Z, then A. And then you want to go into the other window. And you'll see why I came in from the top. It's a lot easier to fall down the fortress than climb up the fortress. Token there, and you can actually just fall into the lava. Normally in Banjo, if you die, you'll lose all your notes. That lava doesn't actually kill you, so you can just fall in there to get out really quickly. Okay, next we just got a note up in this tree. Just going to head across here and grab a note up in that tree. We'll make our way around town, and we're just going to break into this shop window. You can press A and then Z to ground pound through the window there. Grab a Jiggy inside here, and pretty easy to miss. There's also a Mumbo token in here. So you want to grab that token just in the corner there. Make sure you got that one. Okay, up here there's another token to grab, and then just on this tree as well there's another token to grab. Be sure to get those two. And remember, you do need all the Mumbo tokens to get 100% on this game. Mumbo does ask for them all. So just on here, grabbing the notes around, and then the Jiggy up the top. Alright, once we got that Jiggy, we're just going to head out to the left here. And a couple more things to grab. There's a Mumbo token in the water, and we can go up on this tree to grab a note. Also, there's a Jinjo just behind this thing, so you can shoot eggs at it to get through. And a couple notes just in the shallow water here. You're aiming for 100 notes at the end of the level, so just be sure you're on track to get that. Your note count should be matching mine if you're following the exact same route. Okay, moving up the mountain. We got this little hole here that we can go into, so just shoot 3 eggs of that thing, you'll get through. And we've got a Jiggy in here. Now, I'm going to do a pretty hectic jump across there. If you can't make that jump for whatever reason, there is a door in the mountain. So just start climbing up the mountain until you see a door passageway. You'll go through and get to where I am now as well. Okay, jumping off here, there's a Jinjo and a token behind the waterfall and a honeycomb up there. You should have 2 honeycombs at this point. There were 6 honeycombs in the first level, but much like normal Banjo, there's 2 in each level after that. So grab the Jinjo onto the bridge there, grab the Jiggy, and then that should bring us to 9 Jiggies, 100 notes, and 2 honeycombs. Also, 8 tokens per level, don't forget that. Next up, Whomp's Fortress. Okay, so going in, you just ground pound this, so A and then Z. You're going to press gold feathers to get that. So with gold feathers, you just hold Z and press C right to use gold feathers. Try not to use them for too long, otherwise you'll run out. You can peck that to get through and ground pound that. Now, I'm going to use a little trick there. If you ground pound, when Banjo is like bouncing up after the ground pound, you're actually invincible for a little bit. So I used it to not get hurt by that TNT there. So that's just a little strategy you can use. Gold feather through that guy there. You can shoot eggs at that guy to get through. And just jumping out through this little section here. You do want to hit that switch there. If you run out of time, just come back and hit it again. I'm also just going to grab that Jiggy on the way up and then fly into that door. That door got opened from the switch. There's another Jiggy at the top just here, and then another Jiggy at the top of the tower just here. You got a note and a token to grab, and then we'll just fall down the tower grabbing all the notes along the way. Okay, there's a little gold feather there to grab if you'd like to, and we can ground pound that, and then just continue on. There's a Jinjo in there, so just ground pound through to grab that. And then with this, we want to beak bomb that guy. So you're flying, and then you're pressing B to beak bomb. The beak bomb tends to go right to the middle of the screen, so it sort of depends what direction your camera's pointing as to what way the beak bomb goes. Peck those two to get the items from inside, and then we can sort of jump back down here, grabbing some notes, and we're going into the pipe eventually. Just grab that note first. This is the underground SMB1 section. So just pecking all those blocks to get the notes from the inside. That Jiggy up the top there is fake, so don't worry about getting it. And then with here, we can peck the block and then just high jump up. Grab the token on the way through and grab the notes as well as the other block there. Through here, we can just high jump up there, grab the 2 notes and the honeycomb off to the left. High jump, well, talon drop back up. Another note there, 3 notes there. If you're having trouble with the camera, it won't really scroll until you've jumped onto the ground, so just do that. There's another token to grab there, and we get the honeycomb there. Now we got to get up into what was the secret warp zone, so you just shock spring pad up and across there, and that brings it into here. That will get us this Jiggy that we were looking at before. Alright, so with that, just head back out of the pipe. Brings us back out. We've got 2 more notes to grab here, and a hut to ground pound, or should I say a brick to ground pound. There were huts in the original game. Use that ground pound trick that I was talking about before. So after the ground pound, as Banjo is bouncing back up, you're invincible. So you can use that to get through those TNT boxes. Grab all the notes around here, and there's also a Mumbo token in that end thing. So just high jump up to that, and there's the token. Grabbing the rest of the notes, you should be on 100 notes at this point. There we go. A Jinjo to grab, which will have a Jiggy as well. By the way, those things don't hurt you if you're standing on the back of them. That's how I was able to not take damage there. Or if you want just Gold Feather. And then we're out. Should be 9 Jiggies, 100 notes, 2 honeycombs, 8 tokens per level. Okay, Jolly Roger Bay. Heading across here, we can just jump up to that pole. There's a token right at the top of the pole, so make sure you climb all the way up. Use that ground pound trick, and you can get the Jinjo from inside there. Just jumping across here, we can high jump up. Now, there's a timer Jiggy here, which can be a little bit annoying to get. My recommendation is to actually just jump straight across to the Jiggy, and don't worry about the notes, just grab them after the Jiggy. I was able to get the notes on the way there, but you might want to do them in 2 separate trips, just to save yourself a bit of trouble. Ground pound through that, or egg through them, or gold feather through them, anything's fine. Just get rid of the TNTs somehow. I'm gold feathering through those last few. And then once you've done that, you can just jump across these blocks onto the ship. So this is the Croctus. You've sort of just got to follow these around the level. The new ones spawn there. That's sort of near where the very start of the level was. And grab that token on the end of the ship. And 2 more notes down the side there. We've got this ladder that we can climb here. And a Jiggy right on the edge of the ship there. Okay, next up we're going to activate this and go to the fly pad there. Now, in this footage, there's a token off to the right that I've missed. So I did have to come back and get it. It's just that one there. Very easy to miss. Anyway, after you get that token, just beak bomb across here. And you can shoot eggs into its mouth there. Alright, ground pound through there, and that'll open up for a Jiggy. I'm going to grab some stuff on the way down to the Jiggy just because the Jiggy's got a pretty big timer on it. So there's a token in the end there, and you can go around and get all the notes from this bit. So just grabbing those. Once you've done that, you just want to swim towards the ship and all the way down. And the Jiggy is in the mouth of the eel thing. So you can go and grab the Jiggy there. There it is. There's another token underneath the ship. And I'm just going to grab some notes off the eel before going into the ship. The swim's a little bit tight on air, so if you need to do that in a couple of trips, that's not a bad idea. These notes here, you can basically just ground pound down to get. With those shrapnels, you can poop eggs onto them, so that's Z with C down. And that'll take care of them. And you can gold feather up through this section. Just be aware the slope is slippery, so you've just got to be careful while you're climbing up that ship. And down here, so there's a Mumbo token there, and a Jinjo back here. A couple of gold feathers there too if you want to stock up, and then we'll just shock spring back out of the ship. Now that we're out, there's a whole bunch more notes to grab that I didn't get before. So there they all are. There's one more note on the back of the eel that I didn't get, and then a whole bunch leading up this cave here. Okay, so through the cave, just use that ground pound trick to get through the TNT. And you can beak bomb through that guy there and then just grab the Jiggy afterwards. There we go. And across here we got more to get. So just up through this section, there's one of the Croctus things, so you can hit that. And if you don't have the Croctus there, it means you've missed one of the early ones in the level. A Jiggy inside the egg. In case you're wondering, this level was built off Bubble Gloop Swamp. That's why there's all the frogs and egg things in there. A couple more notes to grab on the way out, and you can just go through this cave which has a Jinjo in it. There we go. Alright, coming back out of that cave, we're just going to head down through this underwater tunnel again, and we're going to go for a little swim through it. So once you're out of the tunnel, just swimming up, and we're going to get back to this section, which is where all those TNT boxes were before. So there is a Croctus to grab there, and it spawns a one right next to the ship. I'm also just going to take the fly pad once again. And there's something to grab on top of the ship itself. So it's just in the little crow's nest up there. There's a Jiggy. So you can grab that and make your way down to the Croctus here. You will need to actually go onto the Croctus platform with it because it spawns a Jiggy on the platform. So you do have to make it across. Either jump back onto the ship or get back up through those TNT platforms. In the ship, you can go into this door and get all the items inside. Should have 100 notes at this point. Last thing that I need is just a Jinjo, which is in this bit of the ship here. And there we go. So that Jinjo drops a Jiggy, and once you've done that, you can just swim basically to the exit of the level. Jolly Roger Bay done. And that's all 3 Mario 64 levels done, so we're done with those. I actually forgot before to grab a token behind the cartridge, so make sure you got that token there. And then we're ready to go into the 200 note door. This is the next group of 3 levels in the game. And there we are. Alright, so we unlocked the next group of 3 levels. We're into Bomberman first. So just high jump up into the cartridge there. We're going to climb up into this water. You can either swim underneath to grab the notes, or I managed to walk underneath like a little glitch thing. And through this maze, you just want to break all those boxes. So you only have to break the ones that have the notes inside, but I like to just break all of them, so I'm definitely sure I've got everything. Any of those TNTs, you can use the ground pound trick to get through them, or you can just shoot eggs at them. And that box in the middle-ish of the screen now is the very last one, so just make sure you end on that one there and warp out. Alright, once you're out of that sort of 2D room, you just want to go into this window here. There's a Jiggy to grab and a Mumbo token to grab in this room, and then just head back out. Grab all the notes around the ground here, and the notes across the bridges here. There's a Jinjo to grab in the corner there, and a fly pad to use here. With the fly pad, you want to go through the rings. Now, your rings will spawn in different spots, so just be aware of that. You beak bomb onto the hand to grab the Jiggy, and we can hit the snowman and the honeycomb switch. So with that, we're just going to shoot out all these boxes and make our way back up through. There's another fly pad there, so I'm just going to be getting the rest of the rings here. And some notes on top of that building while I'm here. And the Mumbo token, trying not to land. And the honeycomb. Just grabbing the rings all through there, and we can get a Jiggy on the way through. And then the rings spawn a Jiggy there. We'll grab that Jiggy much later, so don't worry about it now. You saw a big bomb up here. There's a Jiggy at the top, and then we can just make some jumps across here. There's a Jiggy in there, and then under the water, there's a token in that N logo, and then some notes on the way out. Alright, once we're coming out of here, we just want to grab some feathers to stock up. And we want to grab the notes and Jinjo from under the water. Once you've done that, there's some more notes under this water. And you can drop down the waterfall. More notes in the water there. More notes in the water just here. And we can climb up out of the stairs. More notes. There's a Jiggy in the water there. And a token across the roof. You can grab the Jinjo from that bit. Jinjo's got a Jiggy. And go up here to get the speed shoes. Hit the switch after getting the speed shoes. There's the Jiggy that was dropped before that we're going to get. And then we're just into this room here. So I'd gold feather through all these boxes just to save yourself time breaking them all. Use the ground pound trick to get through the TNT, and then we got a Jiggy for that room. And we're almost done with the level completely. So just a couple notes to grab in these boxes here. There we go. And a couple notes to grab across here and under the water, and that should take us through the rest of the level. Cool, with all 100 notes, we're just going to make our way out. So jumping across there and back into the pipe. Next, we got the Diddy Kong Racing level. So jump up here and you can get the token. And then we're going to go into the level itself. Okay, so speed shoes there if you want. You can just grab a whole bunch of stuff. High jump up onto this roof. You want to grab the notes that are across this roof here. And then across to the house. And there's a shock spring pad in that box. Okay, a couple notes all across here. Now there's actually a secret that you're supposed to find out about later, but if you know about it, you can just ground pound next to that mushroom there and go straight through the ground into this Jiggy. And better yet, you can shock spring out and you're back there. All right, now peck that door. I want you to go inside the door because that's another token that I missed in this footage. Anyway, once you're inside the door, there's just a box to break inside here. So break that. And then on top of the house, when you come out the other side of the door, there's also another token you can grab just in the chimney there. So grab those two. All right, and don't leave the level yet because we've got a whole bunch more to do. Once you got those two tokens that I missed in this footage, you just head across here back to this house. Okay, so you can jump across, grab these notes around here, and we can grab the pot. So you just poop an egg into that. That's Z with C down. In case you can't tell, this level was based off Mad Monster Mansion. We got some notes all across here to grab on the trees. And a Jinjo to grab up there. Okay. Next up, we just got this thing here, and we can jump across to grab a Jiggy. There it is. You get the Mumbo token through there. And we're just going to stock up on some feathers and grab the notes in this tunnel. Once we got all that stuff, we're just going to make our way out. Across through this section, I'm just going to grab the speed shoes, save a bit of time. But basically make your way up here. These poles have some goodies up there. It's got a note and a Jiggy and then another note across on the other pole. There we go. All right, that pole there has a note on it, and then you can fall straight down. There's another pot to poop an egg into. Up across here. There we go. And we want to get the honeycomb from there. And another pot to poop an egg into. If you jump across these roofs here, you'll get into a really cool side scroller section. So just go jump up high enough to get up here. There's a Jiggy up the top. And we can take all those notes around. And there we go. Just jump back up here and you've got to peek through that window. And this is the cool side scroller section here. So stand on the controller, and if you press A, you'll get up into flying. I just got a few goodies to grab in here. So up here, you just want to grab the note from underneath. There's a Mumbo token up to the left to grab there. Another note to grab here. If you need some more height, you can actually do a ground pound. Banjo goes up at the very start of his ground pound. You can usually like grab notes like that. Across there, you get a note. And across there, you get a note. And there we go. There's the Jiggy, and we're out. So just down here, you got to clean up the rest of this room. Grab the wading boots because there's brambles outside, and you want to go across the brambles here. Okay, now that we're done with that, you can just go across to these two trees and basically just keep jumping across the trees, grabbing notes as you go. There we go. Now you can jump up onto these things and climb up to the top of the towers. So there's a Jiggy to grab up that one. And there's a gold feather up the other one, but I'm not actually going to bother going to get that. Bit out of the way. Fall down this bit, there's some notes there and another tree. And you've actually got to climb up the other tower as well. So there's a Jiggy there. So with the other tower, you just climb up that little bit. We get a Jinjo there. And up across there, we get a Mumbo token. So jumping back across here, I missed two notes there, so just grab those on the way in. And we're going to go see Mumbo. And Mumbo will not turn us into that. That's a little Easter egg. He will turn us into Pipsy. Okay, so a few things to grab as Pipsy. We've got to go back across those brambles. You can just walk across them now with Pipsy. There's a Jiggy in there to grab. And a couple more notes there and there to grab. Now that room that we went into before with the Mumbo token, we have to go back in there as Pipsy because there's goodies to grab. So grab anything you didn't grab as Banjo. So I didn't grab anything as Banjo really apart from that token. And then you can just fall through the lava to get back to the exit of the level. The lava doesn't actually kill you, so don't worry about falling in there. Okay, you can talk to that guy if you want, but anyway, we're going to go to Goldeneye. There's a token in the little tower there, so grab that, and we're in. With Goldeneye, when you're ready, just press A to start the level. We're going to ground pound this thing here, and that'll spawn a fly pad. With the fly pad, we're just going to use that. And you need to beak bomb those sync switches. So that's pressing B to do the beak bomb there. Go and beak bomb this other one. And beak bomb the last one. There we go. There's a Jinjo there that we can grab. And a G to grab there. Making our way across. So here there's a little Nintendo game in there. That's like a present that you have to give to somebody. And peck the door to grab the Jinjo there. There we go. And making our way across here, Just grabbing everything along the way. We can go in here to grab 2 notes, use the ground pound recoil trick to do that. And 3 more notes on here. And a couple notes there. Okay. Yeah, I've got a missed token here, so this is your opportunity to grab it. So you can sort of see it off to the right there. Basically, just jump across there to grab the token, and you can actually jump back across if you want. Alright, so after you grab that token and jumped back across, we want to just keep going up along this wall, grabbing all the notes as we go. If you fall off the wall, just jump up where we started again. That jiggy's fake, so don't worry about it. I'm just going to go through here. In this little area, you want to break all the boxes to grab some notes, and you do want to go into this truck to grab the token. Here, just down through there, all the boxes just have feathers and stuff, and we go into this room here. You unlock the door with a jiggy, so you just press A to do that. Now, while you're in this room, be sure to grab that token just behind the corner bit there. Once you've done that, you can just shock spring out of the room, and we'll keep going along. And we're into a new section here. Okay, so with this section, we're not going to do much in this section yet. Use that ground pound trick to get down here. So ground pound, and then in the recoil animation, fall down as Banjo. You won't get hurt. If you're struggling with that, just use gold feathers and fall down while gold feathers are active. Break these 2 and you'll get a jiggy and drop down. You can break all these toilet cubicles if you want. Make sure you grab the token in that one and the notes in the other ones there. And we're just going to fall down here. There's a switch to hit. And we're going to go into this room. There's a couple notes to grab. And then just around here, there's a token by that door. So make sure you got that token. Peek through that door. And up in here, we got notes up in the corners on the top of the lockers. And you can peck that door to open it, and you'll see Wazza in the distance. So with Wazza, we need to transform into James Bond. So you just transform there, you're now Bond. So you just go up towards Wazza, and Wazza will be very excited and want to give you a jiggy. So grab that jiggy. You can go in and talk to Wazza and grab that present, and then just head back out. Once you head back out, you just want to transform back into Banjo. And then go back into that room we were in before. So you want to jump up across, ground pound through there. There's a honeycomb to grab, and that'll restore our health as well and give us more maximum health. And we go into the Battletoads game. So shock spring up there, just grabbing notes all the way across. There we go. And a jiggy on the way out and drop down. Okay, so you can talk to these guys, but they won't really have much more to say. You've got the jiggy, and make sure you get the present from in front of this guy, and then head out. Alright, once we've done that, we're pretty much done in the facility area. So you just want to head out. Try not to get stuck on the camera like I did there. And up through Logo there. And there we go. Alright, now if you walk up into this little warp here, you pop straight back up on top of the dam. And we just got to peek through this door. Now we got to give presents to these guys here. So give the present to that one. Break through these boxes here, and we're going to take a swim in the lake. Now this is where I missed a token as well, so just drop down here. There's a token in this little tunnel thing, so it's about in the very middle of the dam. Just make sure you grab that. Anyway, that brings you back up here, and that's roughly where we were. Once you got the token and the notes from this section, you just want to swim way out into the middle of the lake, right down the bottom, and you'll find a jiggy and some notes to grab. Once you've done that, keep swimming out to the edge of the lake. This bit's really cool. It's an island that is hidden in normal GoldenEye. Ground pound that thing for a jiggy, and then swim out across the water. You can either swim under this boulder or jump up across it, but there's a Jinjo there to grab. And then just swim underneath and make your way back up. And there's 4 boxes there, all with notes in them, so we got to grab all those notes. And just a Jinjo at the top of the tower there. Now we're going to go back in here and give the presents. And then just forward across here. We should have 100 notes at this point. Give the last present there. And he gives us a jiggy if you've given all 3 of them their presents. If you haven't done that, then go back and talk to all 3 of them. Okay, just heading back through here. You can literally just walk out of the level now. We got everything. If you want, you can actually just die on an enemy, and that's a lot quicker than walking back to the start. But there it is. Okay, so that's that set of 3 levels done. Now we're ready to go into the 500 note door and access the later levels. There we go. So this is our next group of 3. It's a bit of a bigger hub here. So first of all, you can talk to this guy if you want. Just jump up behind, there's a token there to grab. And up into the Pokemon Snap level. So this is quite a big one. It's based off Click Clock Wood because you can go into all the courses, essentially. You can talk to that guy if you want, but just go and grab the notes around here. You can talk to Professor Oak if you want, but you don't necessarily need to. Once you're done with Professor Oak, go into the building here and climb up the stairs. And the switch to open the beach level is just there. You can grab some notes on the way out, and you can also peg that window for a Jinjo on the way out. We're going to head into the beach level. Okay, now that spot on the ground, you have to ground pound. It's got a little X on it that you should be able to see, or just ground pound in the same spot. It's got a Jiggy on the inside there. Next, we're going to dip down here and swim through the underwater cave, and then swim back through the underwater cave. And with this Lapras, we're just going to high jump on top of its head and jump across. All right, next thing, we're just going to high jump up here. Use Gold Feathers across there to not take damage, and drop through there and grab a Jiggy with a ground pound. We're then going to swim through this tunnel and swim back out. And then we're just going to go up here and grab that token. Use Gold Feathers if you need to. Some notes around the Snorlax. And a note up the tree. Now this next bit here we need Speed Shoes for. Just jump up across there to get the Pokeball with Speed Shoes. And I might just grab them again. There's a note up the top of the tree there. There's a token on top of the Lapras here. And then if we jump back across, there's a note up on the tree for this bit. And we can jump across here to start grabbing this token in the pink grass. So there we go, grab that. And jump across here for the next switch. So that opens tunnel. Okay. Now that we've done that, you can just head across this path, grab that sneaky note off to the edge there, and we're into tunnel. Okay, these Electrode will hurt you if you touch them, so watch out. Either use Ground Pound Trick or Gold Feathers or Eggs. Climb up that and grab the Jinjo. Up through here. And go up here. Ground Pound there to grab the Jiggy. Now there's a token underneath there. I actually didn't grab it in the footage even though I went straight in the hole to get it. So make sure you actually touch the token and grab it. Once you got that token, just drop off this platform here, and that guy will already be dead. But then jump up here. This is like the other side. There's another token in there to grab. Once you got both those tokens, just continue along the path here. And there's another spot to ground pound there. You can see because it's got the X on the ground. And then we can high jump up here. Just jump across to that middle platform there, and that switch will open up the next season, or the next level, I should say. And then high jump up again. That ground has a shock spring under it, so you can ground pound through or just use the shock spring. There's some notes to grab around here. And if you take a dip in the water, there's a little tunnel to swim through. That has the next Pokeball in there. And out of the level. Alright, next we got Volcano. There's only 3 Pokemon Snap levels in this level. So do that, grab all the notes around there, pick this door and make our way through, and we're in the Volcano. So dip down there and grab the wading boots. The lava will only make you take damage, it won't kill you. So it's actually a bit nicer than it was in the older version of this game. Grab the notes around the Moltres egg there. And then ground pound the ground through there. There should be a little X marking the spot there. Okay, once we've done that, just swim into this water here. You can swim all the way through. You should get a Pokeball. And you can keep swimming through, and you'll pop out on the other side. And there's a token to grab in there. And a few notes to grab around here. And there we go. Just going to go up here. There's another spot to ground pound. And there's a couple notes to grab down here. That should be all 100 notes at this point now. Okay. Now before you fly over here, There is one more token to get that I missed. It's just behind this little rock pillar thing. So you can get it with the wading boots or you can get it by flying to it. Once you've done that, find a fly pad or keep flying. You're going to go across to the unknown here by the volcano near the start of the area. Ground pound that switch. That'll open the next season, or should I say door. It's got a Jinjo behind it. It's not like a full level this time. And then just fly up into the volcano itself. Once you're in the volcano, we're going to drop down here to grab a Jinjo. And then shock spring up and fly back out. I'm going to beak bomb that wall there. It's got a honeycomb inside it. Very easy to miss that one. And we're just going to beak bomb across to the top of that egg, which has a Pokeball in it. Remember, there were notes around that egg, so if you didn't get them before, make sure you got them now. We're then just going to go over to Mumbo, and he's going to transform us into a bug. Alright, so this bug has literally one purpose. It's to go into the Game Boy in Professor Oak's lab. So just head out of the volcano level now. I'm going to head all the way back up this section. And into here, we get a cool little Easter egg where we're in Game Boy Pokemon. So you just head up through Viridian Forest like you normally would in the game. And there's a Jiggy right at the end. So if you climb up these stairs, you'll turn back into Banjo. And then we're just going to get that Jinjo that we saw before. So literally just up across that thing. Climb up the light, and you got the Jinjo there. Now, you've only got 8 Jiggies. That's because the 9th one, you have to go to Professor Oak and turn in all the Pokeballs. Definitely not Nabnot's acorns from the original game at all. And down this slope here. So next level we've got is Conkers. We just need to go up and to the right here. And we're straight into Conkers. You can high jump up there. Okay, there's a token just by the starting point. You get all the notes here. There's a token at the base of the water. And then you can just swim underneath the water to grab all the notes through this section. More notes to grab up here. And more notes to grab through this section. We're just going to use a shock spring pad to get up to this bit. And shock spring again to grab these notes up here as well as Jiggy. Okay, drop down here. And we're going to just shoot eggs through that or gold feather it. Grab the running shoes. And we're going to hit the switch there. Okay, make your way up here. Try and get it underneath the timer. Alright, I'm just going to go around and get everything here. I'm also just going to jump up onto his hand there and grab the Jiggy. If you don't grab it now, there is a spot later where you can grab it really easily. Hit the fly pad switch. And then I'm going to try and hit the fly pad. It's a little bit of tight timing there. If you need the timer to go longer, you can keep pausing and unpausing. That'll actually make the timer last longer. It's a bit weird how that works. Next, we're just going to go near this thing. You just peck straight through it. And we use a Jiggy to open that. Okay, now that we've done that, grab the Jinjo. And we can grab a pair of running shoes on the way out. This is where you could grab that Jiggy from before if you wanted to. It's just in his hand there. If not, just make your way out. Okay, now that we got that, you can just jump off into the lake. Now you want to poop eggs onto the boulder in the very middle of the lake at the bottom. So just do it from about there and try and be perfectly perpendicular to the platform you're standing on. And then swim down the waterfall here. So you just want to jump up onto this little slope here and straight into that door there. Okay, go up here. There's Jinjos and notes to grab. Climbing up the little pole there, and we're going to head into the 2D section for Honeycomb. And then just jump up across here. We're going to climb this ladder. It's quite a big climb. Grab the Jiggy up over the water there, and then just swim into the water to grab everything else inside. Once we've done that, we can ladder out. You can ground pound that. There's a token inside, and there's a Jiggy in the middle of this section, so grab both those. And we're just going to go straight into the door there. We're in the rest of the 2D section now, so you grab a Jinjo from there. Grab 2 notes along through this bit. Gold feather if you want. These boxes are breakable, so make sure you get everything in those bigger breakable boxes. 2 notes there. And a Jiggy to grab here. So grab that Jiggy and head back in. We can just head back in the way we came. Once you're done in this section, just drop down there. And you got some notes to grab. There we go. And we're pretty much done in this section, so you're just going to head out of this bit now. Next thing we've got to do is climb the center bit. So you just grab all the notes on the way up here. Peek through the door. Same thing here. Peek through that door. There's a shock spring pad under there, so you just ground pound through and hit it. And then we get the jiggy. You want to jump up to this little like bee section here. So you can gold feather all the bees, or if you're like really tight with timing, you can shock spring there. Just be aware they will often hit you when you shock spring, so you just got to watch out for that. Grab the jiggy and back through there, down the hill. Now if you peck this door, there's a ginger waiting behind it, so you just want to grab that. Now I unfortunately missed a note here, so I'm just going to go and grab it now. It was up on the spiral tower. You will miss that note because it's not on the original path up. It's sort of on this other weird path of the structure. The structure has like 2 paths going up. It is very strange. Anyway, just go through here. And you want to go up through the 800 note door. Just before we do that, grab the token though. This is really cool. You have to pay 4 jiggies to get the 4 megabyte RAM expansion pack. And Donkey Kong 64 is what it unlocks. And that game did actually need the expansion pack. Pretty cool premise. So now that we've done that, we can actually go into the Donkey Kong level. So you just climb up these. Like so. Off to the left of that bit is a token. Make sure you got that. And we're going to climb up here. Shock spring up. And into Donkey Kong 64. Alright, first thing we're going to do is go into Jungle Japes lobby. You want to shoot out all these boulders. Now, there's a little secret in here. I'm not actually sure what this is going to look like in the final game. This is the early access version. At least in the early access version, there's an egg that you can grab here. So if it's here, grab it. If it's not here, don't grab it. But basically, yeah, you can just climb up these trees. And there's the egg. And make your way back down. Anyway, once you're done with this, there's still 2 more notes to grab in this room, so just grab those. Grab the notes all up around this tree. Grab the note on top of that one. You can take out that boulder for a gold feather, you don't really need to. Couple notes across there. Few notes across here, and you can take out that boulder for a ginger. Just use like an egg or a big barge or something. Big barge will be Z then B if you want to use it. There's a token behind that door there, so you get that. And we can just go straight into Mumbo's skull. And we're the B. Now, controls for the B. So hold R at all times. And pretty much hold B at all times. B makes you go faster. And then you can just press A as you want to fly higher. I like to actually use my middle and pointer finger to hold R and B. And then you got your thumb completely free to press A. Okay. Just grab the notes around this little edge bit here. And grab the ginger in front of the vent. Watch out for the vent, it can get you up. Jump onto the chair and spend a jiggy opening the doors here. Once you've done that, you can just head out. What's inside that box is just a shock spring pad to get back up, so if you fall down, use that. Grab the token there, and we want to fly up to K. Rool's crown. Grab the jiggy in here. Now, I actually missed a token right here. It's on K. Rool's nose there, so make sure you grab that. And if you want to see exactly where it is, it's just on the very tip of the nose right there. Alright, once you got that nose token, you just jump off and grab the notes around the arm there. So grab all those, and then you can head into K. Rool's mouth. This is another jiggy podium that you need to use, so just press A to use the jiggy and open it up. And we're into Donkey Kong Jr., so just grabbing all the notes and stuff around the arcade here. There we go. Alright, 4 notes to grab on the way out, and then we're done. Alright, so there's a honeycomb switch to hit there. Make sure you've hit that. And you can go into this room. It's 312111 is the code, just like the original game. It's just on a diagonal, that's all. And then we can grab the notes up here. And a honeycomb there to get full health. Okay. While you're up here, you want to go into this little hut thing here for the Fungi Forest lobby. There's a token that I missed in the footage. basically get that token, just peek through that door and grab it. Anyway, once you got that token, just across to this waterfall here, there's a Jinjo and 2 notes. You can jump down to the Aztec lobby. And we've already been in here before, so you should have most of the stuff. You just want to be the bee again. It's a bit awkward, the routing through this level. You do actually have to turn into the bee twice. Just the way that it all works out. Anyway, grab those 3 notes. And then in this lobby, you can grab the Jiggy from up the top there. You want to go into where the final battle was in the original game and grab the Jinjo from the very top and 2 more notes there. So it should be 4 notes in a Jinjo. Grab the notes on top of those 2 trees and fly straight across to Banana Ferry Island. Alright, we're just going to go straight up there and turn into Banjo again. And down to grab that Jinjo. Grab some notes across the edges and we're just going to peek through there. There will be a Jiggy. And then we're going to come straight out here. So there's some notes around the edge there. And there's also a token in that boulder there. Make sure you got that. Once you got the boulder token, basically just get the rest of the notes and you can jump across here. You want to go into this underwater door through this section. So just swim through here. There's a whole bunch of notes to grab on this bit. There's a token behind that door and there's also a note behind that door. So make sure you get all that. You can go and grab the Jiggy and then just swim out of this room that we're in. Next thing we're going to do is just swim across to Caelumsey. There's a shock spring pad there. Jump up on top to grab the token. And then we should be in here grabbing a whole bunch of notes around the edge. Once you got that, you just want to jump onto the pad there and press A to fly up into here. I would just use all your gold feathers on these guys. Grab the Jiggy and then that's DK Island done. So just fall off, head out and walk back to the door. Okay, with that you can jump into this barrel on the side that takes you back to the start of the area. And then just sort of go through this bit and back through the door. Now, we've done sort of the 9 main levels, so to speak. We're going to jump onto this. You need 64 Jiggies to open this door. So we're going to go straight through the door now. And we're into the final area of the game. This is Bottles Castle. So first thing to do is just head around the edge here. And we've got a little Glover level. So jump straight into Glover. No notes in this level. There's, I think from memory, 3 Jiggies. And just grab the ones I'm about to grab. So first thing we're going to do is grab a token through there. That little hole in the floor had a token in it. Next thing we're going to do is jump up onto the shock spring. Grab this Jiggy up from the air. Jump back down. Grab the shoes if you want. But we're just going to open this 700 note door and hit the switch there. Grab the token from the top of the tower. Now grab the shoes and hit the switch. That opens up a little path to get up here. That's the path we just opened. So then shock spring up and we should be able to get a Jiggy there. All right, jumping up across here. Next thing we're going to do is just head up across, avoid that Jiggy, it's a fake, and up here for another token. And with this bit here, we're just going to go up onto this, shock spring up, we'll grab a token there. Jump down, there's actually a Jiggy hidden right there, it's very well hidden, that one. And there's one more token to grab, it's just on these poles here. Grab that and then we're heading out of Glover. There's a token on the way out of the lobby, it's just there behind the font thing. Alright, next thing we want to do is head around the corner here. There's a token to grab underneath there. There's also a door that you can go into by the bottom. There's nothing interesting in that door, but you can go in if you want to. It's got a few villains in there. Alright, down into here, we got a really cool level. It's the Banjo beta recreation. It's like the original beta stuff from Banjo-Kazooie and Dream. So you can talk to Chimpy if you want, but basically then just get going. This is like a 2D-ish, 2.5D-ish level. There's lots of like hidden Jiggies around, so there's one hidden Jiggy just right there. Make sure to grab that. A token there is good to grab. Another token up here. A Jinjo to grab up the top. We got a token up the top there. Another token down there. On the lake here, there's a token up the top there. Another token down there. Sorry, Jinjo. Up here, there's a token in the hole. And a Jinjo up the top. That's the first little area done. Next area, there's a token down the bottom there. and a Jiggy in that wall bit there. Go down here. That should get us a Jinjo just from that bit there. And a token just up the top there. Next, in the hole there is a token. And we have a Jiggy. Well, we have the last Jinjo, which should give us a Jiggy. Alright, continuing forward. We got a token down the bottom there. And we're just going to climb up this spirally bit there. If you go down, there's another token. And if you go up, we get into a really cool area. This is from Project Dream. You talk to this guy. This is Edison from the very early beta of Banjo-Kazooie. There's a Jiggy in there, and you just make your way out. There's also a token on top of the house. All right, once you're out of here, just go down and then to the right. And we go straight into this area here. Alrighty, so we make our way to the right. We're just going to do some high jumps up here. And make our way down. There's another token to grab there. And if we sort of go up here, there's a token to grab in the door. There's a token behind the top of the temple there. You got to be really careful with that one. And another one in the door off to this side. We're just going to jump across to the other side of the temple. There's another token underneath that bit there. And there's a Jiggy if you ground pound through that thing. There's a token in the whip crack there. And you want to ground pound that sun switch, which should open up this door here. There we go. Now you can sort of high jump up here. And if you ground pound through that bit there, there's a Jiggy. And another Jiggy up there. So you should have 10 all up. Now in the very bottom of this lake, there's another token, which I missed there. If you're curious about exactly where, it's just right here under the shrapnel. Alright, once you got the token in the lake, you can just head into the door of the temple. Alright, talk to this guy if you want, but basically he tells you can jump onto the guide pad. Now, at this point in the game, you should have all the tokens and Jiggies if you followed the walkthrough. So all these should be ticks. Because in the original footage I missed a couple tokens, you can see those ones I missed. But I showed you where they all were as part of this walkthrough. So hopefully you've got everything there. You will need all the tokens to 100% the game, because the last transformation needs 60 tokens. Anyway, now that we're done with Banjo Beta, we can sort of head out. We can open up the very final, well, sort of final level of the game. It's like the any percent ending. So just open up this door and go through it. You're going to open up Star Fox. So just up here, you press Z to use all your Jiggies. And open that up. That opens up this door. So just head straight in. And up the path here into Star Fox. So this is like the last fight against Bottles in the game. There will be more post-game stuff after this though. So you get a few cutscenes. Bottles is flying around on the controller. They're all sort of like fighting him. Any of these one doors you can peck through like that. And we want to just drop down here. You can talk to these bee things if you want. Technically you don't need to. And I'm just going to go up here and clear off some of the enemies. And we'll grab the running shoes here. There's two pairs of running shoes, one up and one of them is at the bottom. This one that I just grabbed here lasts much longer, so you really need that. Press that switch, and then you can actually just go up into this door. Technically, you don't need to do this bit of the level, but you're supposed to on your first playthrough, I think. Anyway, you talk to this guy and he tells you like a magic secret spot to ground pound. Press that switch to open the door again. If you know this spot right here where the water's leaking, you can literally just ground pound that right from the start of the level. So you don't need to do any of that speed shoe stuff technically. Anyway, just jump back down with the speed shoes and go through that door that opened. Now there's a cauldron there, and this guy tells you that the cauldron will spit you out onto a spot where a jumping platform is, like a shock spring pad. So literally all you got to do, jump into the cauldron, it spits you out there, and then press and hold A, you will shock spring up. Now, you're supposed to fly up through this bit and find out the magic spot that you have to beak bomb, although if you know the spot, then it should be fine. So it's, well, I like to think it's where the top of the feathers are on the fly pad, and it's this purple and blue one. So you just got to beak bomb that switch there. That'll open the door. And then with that door, you just go up through it. And then you can press the B button to talk to the thing. What this tells you to do is just ground pound the top of the control panels. So you ground pound that. And then technically you've beaten the game, at least any percent. So you will get a credit screen. You just hold down on this to go through the credits. But there's a lot more to the game after the credit screen here. Okay, so you can go and talk to these guys. You can also talk to bottles and stuff, basically just to get more story. Once you're done talking to them, head out to the left. Now, this is another one of those secret eggs. I'm not entirely sure what this will look like in the final game, but in the early access version, there is a secret egg out here. So you can grab that. There it is. All right, when you're ready, just go back to this cartridge, and this is Castlevania. No jiggies, no notes in this level, just Mumbo tokens. So just grab all these tokens that I'm looking at here. You can see the little shock spring logo on the ship there, so that tells you where you can shock spring on the wooden beams. Another token up there, another one down there. This is a 900 note door. So if you press that switch, it spawns a Jiggy Podium in the Banjo Beta Temple. And there we go, there's another Mumbo token. That Jiggy Podium that we just spawned will open up the final level in the game. So you got to hit that switch to open that bit up. Jump across and up. Even more tokens to grab. By the way, any level that you do from now will now show up on that guide that we saw in the temple with like showing you how many tokens and jiggies you need and stuff. So hopefully you got all the tokens from that level there. You just head out of the Star Fox level and we're going to head back through this door. Now, as we saw before, the temple now has a Jiggy Podium in it. So we're just going to go into the temple itself and up to the Jiggy Podium there. And that opens up the door to the final level. You can use the guide to check what you got, but you should have everything at this point. Alright, so once you're ready, exit the temple. Make sure you pause and check that you have 60 tokens all up. And you want to go into the final level here. So we unlocked it before, it's Dinosaur Planet. If you don't have this unlocked, it's the little podium in the temple. And we're in. So this is an absolutely huge level. Very easy to get lost. So just swim up to this first bit near this waterfall. You want to go up to this section. And you want to grab a few notes here and the coin. Drop back down. And we want to go to this section over here. And climb up this rope. So up here we can just jump across the waterfalls there. And we want to climb up this ladder bit here. And sort of drop down into this cave. In this cave, you want to ground pound that thing there. And that'll give you G. And then we got more notes to grab. You're going to end up with 1,000 notes at the end of this level. Okay, once we got that, just heading through here, grabbing more and more notes. And up through here, there's some running shoes, you can grab them. But we're going to go into Mumbo's skull. Now this is why we need every Mumbo token in the game. He takes all of them for this last transformation. So there it is. You can grab some running shoes behind this thing here. You can also press B to chomp with this guy. This guy is actually a reskin of the crocodile from Banjo, so it's got the same controls there as the croc from Bubble Gloop Swamp. Okay, once we've done that, just head out. You can sort of jump down these waterfalls. Those doors are only accessible by this guy, not Banjo and Kazooie. So you can take the running shoes and drop under here to hit the switch there. That'll open up the doors up here. And you sort of want to run through there, grabbing all the notes as we go. And through there. Okay, a couple more notes to grab here. And a Jiggy, we're just going to make our way out. And this guy wants to go down the waterfall. And we can get the running shoes and go under the water, just follow the path of eggs there. And up through this section with the running shoes. And we're going to go into this cave. And we can go past this door, which Banjo or Kazooie can't get past. So once you've done that, just go out and grab the Jiggy. You can just fall off that bit, it won't kill you or anything. And back out of the cave. So continue off to the right here. You're going to get de-transformed in this section, that's fine because we're done with that transformation. Hit that shock spring pad, that'll spawn it over there. And jump up to grab the notes on top of that temple. Remember where that temple is though, because that's going to be where the very, very end of the game is. Okay, grabbing the notes here. And we can see Gobi there. Got a boulder there to beak barge through or egg through. And with Tank Top, we've got to take care of all of his feet. So he'll spit out a Jiggy, you can grab that on the way in. Now, Tank Top has this little podium there, but you need all the Jiggies for the podium to work, so we're going to have to come back to Tank Top soon. Alright, I'm back out here. Next thing we're going to do is just head up here. You can jump across the ropes. Now, you can poop eggs onto this whip crack, and that'll help you get up to this section a lot easier. When you're ready, just jump across here. And we can climb the little vine to get up these waterfalls. And there's a Jiggy up the top there that we can grab. Fall back down as Banjo, we can climb up the vines now. And up to this little section. And then we can just jump across these ropes here. So this is one of the last rooms you need to go into because it has the 1000 note door. Just grab the Jiggy from Blubber on your way in. Once you've done that, drop down the hole here. A couple more doors to hit. There's some notes inside this bit. And that's 1000. By the way, make sure you open the 1000 note door before like turning your game off or anything. Apparently there's some like save glitch with having that many notes. So 1000 note door has a Jiggy behind it. So now we just got to jump up through this section. And into that cave behind the waterfall. We're going back towards Tank Top. Now that we actually have enough Jiggies, we should be able to open the podium in Tank Top. So there it is. 8 Jiggies to open that up. And there we go. That temple has the Triforce in it. So that's like the very end of the game. Jump up here. And go through there. Okay, so you can peck the little door here. And there's the Triforce. Banjo and Kazooie will talk for a little while about the Triforce. But consider that you've 100%ed it. There is still one more thing to do, which we'll find out about in this credit sequence here. So once you've gone through that text, you get spawned into here, and Mumbo's going to tell you about this secret in the Diddy Kong Racing level. It's called Pipsy Adventure. So we'll get out of those credits. We're going to save and quit, just so we don't have to walk out of this huge level. And we'll pop back into the game. Alright, so I will show you Pipsy Adventure. Technically, you don't get anything from it, but I think it's important to do as a real part of 100%ing the game. So to do Pipsy Adventure, you basically just go through into the Diddy Kong Racing level. When you're in the Diddy Kong Racing level, you can go into this little door here and through the cave. Basically what you want to do is get rid of the whip crack here, just so that Pipsy can get through it later, because you need to bring Pipsy back and go through the tree. Technically you can get through it without getting the whip crack, but it's really annoying, so you might as well just get rid of it first. Alright, turn into Pipsy here, and then out. And then you want to jump through that tree stump. So basically what Pipsy Adventure is, you're going to go through all the levels again, but you got to find a silver coin. Once you know what the silver coins are, it's really short. So the first one is just behind the snowman here. Second one, you just go down into the cave and drop into the water. There it is. Third one is in Womp's Fortress. Don't fall down, whatever you do. Jump up across this platform here. Jump up and pull back, and then it's in the end there. Next one here, you basically just want to jump across this gap. And it's into that little house that had the window open before. So there it is. In that house there. And it's under the desk in this bit. Next one is just forward and sort of behind this little cliff edge in the water. There it is. Next one, we just got to go into the next bit. And then just go straight forward when you get into this. It's in here. You basically have to take damage to get it. And it's just behind that little wall there. Alright, next one. You've just got to go up the hill into the room. And then up through here. Climb up onto this bit. And the coin is just sitting there. So go through. Okay, next one is in Banana Fairy Island. So just straight up across here into the door. And you want to go into the second pool. So this one here, just behind the wall there. Alright, next one. So this one takes a little while to get to. There is also a way to escape this level as Pipsy, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. But the intended stuff is basically up this path here. When you get to this lake, go up across the lake. And you're into the dream bit. And into the dog kennel. And that brings you to the end. So you will talk to Mumbo. He'll say like, congrats for being here. And you want to go down here. Now the reason I said you didn't get anything is that Jiggy is actually fake. So technically you just get this orange thing from doing Pipsy's adventure. But there you go. So that's pretty much everything. There is one more thing that I'll show you that you can do in the game. But just so you know you got everything. That should be what your totals look like. So 1,000 notes, 99 jiggies, and 24 honeycombs. All right, now there's one very last thing I'm going to show you. It's just like a kind of a cool thing you can do in the game. It's basically a way to get the bee out any way you want it in the game. So in DK Isles level, you can get rid of that boulder there and then turn into the bee. All right, once you're the bee, you want to get out. Now, with the bee, remember, hold R and B at all times. That'll make you fly faster and turn sharper. While holding R and B, you want to do 3 taps of the A button here. 2 taps while holding forward onto the joystick, and then the 3rd tap without holding forward on the joystick. That should get you out of bounds. And for some reason, Kirko, who made this game, put this orange in the top of DK's head. And that orange warps you out of the level as the bee. And it's the only way to get the bee out of the level. And it's got its own like title screen and everything. But basically, once you've done this, you can bring the bee into pretty much any level you want in the game. There's oranges in pretty much every level that will warp you to other levels. So I'm not going to go through every single warp here. It's sort of something to just play around and have fun with. But there's an orange inside that tower. And there's also another orange right on top of the Conkers area here for whatever reason. Yeah. And in the Banjo Beta level, there's also another orange right over the top of this next bit up here. So yeah, kind of a cool little thing you can do in the game. And then, yeah, the bee's just at Bottle's tower, which is weird. There's also an orange on top of Bottle's head, which warps you into Star Fox. I'm still discovering a lot about this, but it's one really cool thing you can do in the game. You just bring the bee pretty much any way you want and like fly around. So mess around with that if you want to have fun with something. That's going to be all for this video, and thank you so much for watching.